Okay, so Jurassic World Chaos Theory just released on Netflix the first 10 episodes of what I believe would just be a season 1, even though I don't think it says season 1. I don't know, I could be wrong. But, and I just binged through it. I watched about half of it yesterday and half of it just now. Binged it. It's super easy to watch through, 23 minutes each episode. And I have some raw thoughts for you guys. Now, if you didn't watch my first video or listen to the first audio recording, however you're consuming this, on Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, the entire series overall, the first 5 seasons of that show, then I highly recommend you go watch that for some, not really a lot of context for what I'm going to be saying, but just, if you cared about them, I'm promoting the fact that I did a full 40-minute dive in of that. And if you did watch that or are going to and are going to come back to this, whatever, then you'll know that I did, the way that I formatted that was a 10-point list of things of the show, like soundtrack, animation, characters, plot, stuff like that, broken into 10 categories, and each one of those categories were given a score out of 10 to equal a overall score out of 100 to give the show a rating. Now, I'm not doing that with this because a lot of those points would be redundant because it's, animation, it's the same. I mean, it's better CG, but it's the same art style, the characters. The most thing I noticed was like they did a lot of focus on characters' eyes, like a lot of close-up shots, which were great. Nothing, world shattering or anything like that, but still looked really good. And the hair physics were like a lot better, I will say. Otherwise, everything, like all the movement was fluid and dynamic. The characters like moved in their own unique ways and everybody felt unique. They didn't feel like, oh, just a motion cap we're gonna slap this model on top of. No, it all felt good. We're going to be getting into some raw thoughts for this, and I will say this, I don't think I did spoilers for Camp Cretaceous, or at least mostly. I think I tried to do I believe it was a spoiler-free review. I am going to be talking spoilers in this. We're covering the first 10 episodes, and I'm not going to cover episode by episode basis. We're just going to kind of go over what's in my head right now. And but before we get to just the raw stuff, I do want to promote my website, vengeancebooks.com. I am an author. If you didn't know that, I write books, and yeah, go check that out. They're supernatural, mystery, horror, thriller, action, adventure kind of thing. So if you like to read, go check that out. You won't be disappointed. Anyways, we're gonna firstly read through my notes that I took in my phone in the order I wrote them. Now, I wasn't taking notes for the first 5 episodes. I didn't really think of it. I figured I was just going to kind of, go back and recall what was going on. But as things were happening, I wanted to write down my impressions of what was happening in certain scenes as they unfolded, and this is mostly in order. So, first, my first note says, episode 1 was great, except the fact that, in all caps, Brooklyn is dead? What? She was my favorite character by the end of Camp Cretaceous. Now, I'm trying to keep my voice quiet, but imagine that I am yelling the fact that Brooklyn is dead in astonishment and disappointment, and with both hands on the side of my head. On one side of my head. Yeah, Brooklyn was my favorite character. Like, she was my least favorite by the beginning of Camp Cretaceous, but by the end, probably about halfway through, she was my favorite character. I don't know why, just loved Brooklyn. Like, just fell in love with the character. She had some of the best development next to Kenji, even though he kind of regressed his development, then came back, and he was a bit annoying. But Brooklyn she was the most intriguing character, I continue my notes saying, I'm disappointed to see that the Nublar 6 are split apart and whatnot. I wanted a happy ending where they were all friends and close. Now, they were for a little bit. They did kind of go their separate ways and they were keeping in contact, except Brooklyn was obviously diving into the dark web of dinosaurs, whatever they called it, dark dinosaur, whatever the hell. I don't remember what they just called it. She obviously was diving deep into that, and whatever, Kenji and her were together, and just, you see throughout it that their relationship was beginning to strain because she was leaning more heavily into that Dino Dark Web stuff, and Darius was partially involved with her ventures, but not really, and anyway, so I was just kind of sad to see that they were all split apart, mostly, and then when she died, they all definitely broke apart. They fractured really hard. And that just blew me away because the show is still a kid's show. And for all that they went through in the first series and how many people did die in the first series, to kill off Brooklyn in episode 1, actually, well, between that and between series, absolutely melted my brain. Like, why would you do that? That just, it felt, um, it just felt harsh for no reason. Now, again, keep in mind, as I'm reading all this, I did watch to the end. So all the stuff that's going on, all the details behind that, don't hold your comments. I know what happens. But these are my raw thoughts as it was going on. I was just frustrated. Like, you can't just do that. You can't just kill one of the main characters in between the series. So, my next note is episode 2 was mostly boring, except for a few scenes. And the gas station scene where the fucking Triceratops dude, I know it's not a Triceratops, but just a default, what I call it. Triceratops got its horn stuck in the gas pump support, and then it was a whole like fire extinguisher. They're doing like combat rolls to get the fire extinguisher and put out the fire, and it was just stupid. It was unnecessary. It was pointless action to happen, I think, just to kind of pad the runtime. So that episode 2 was a bit rough at points. And my next note jumps ahead and says, why are Yaz and Sammy having friction? Did they learn nothing? And of course we did learn that, Yaz was still having PTSD from everything. So she went to school, she went to this like exposure therapy, Dinosaur Island, but she was being very closed off to Sammy, which was just annoying. It's like, did you learn nothing? You have to communicate. And I get that Sammy was like babying her and like sheltering her, but like, yes, you were pretty assertive at a point. You could have, you guys could have had your blow up and resolved this. You didn't need to split apart. They weren't broken up, but like, it was just, I don't know. I just didn't believe that aspect of it. I believe the PTSD and that she needed to get away, but I don't believe that they wouldn't have had this conversation and handled it better. It just seemed silly. But I have to remember they are kids. They are, what are they, like 16 or, well, no, that's a couple years after. So they're college age. They were like 12 to 14, I think, in the first days. I think Darius was 12 and Yaz was like 15 or 16 or something. I don't know. I don't remember their ages. I think I looked it up once just to see, wait a minute, how old are they? And I think the oldest was Yaz or Kenji at 16 or 17. So by this point, they are college age. Obviously, they're adults, but they're still immature in that way. My next note says, so far by episode 6, each character feels familiar and like a natural evolution of themselves. I did feel like none of the characters felt overly like, oh, they just changed to fit a new mold for a character that they need to be. They all felt like themselves grown up. They really did. Especially Ben. He grew up a lot. He doubled in size. And Ben did feel like who he was by the end of Camp Cretaceous. He felt like a natural evolution of that. I will say Darius felt really bland. He was pretty bland in the first series for a bit because he was like your window into the world. He was the character that you assumed yourself to be in a way. But in Chaos Theory, I don't know, he seemed more like a lens in this one than he did in the first one. At least in my opinion. I don't know. I'm probably wrong about that, but my next note says there's a lot of death in the show. People are getting killed by dinosaurs left and fucking right. It's crazy for this still being a kid's show. Like, again, we start off with Brooklyn's death, and then after that, it's just like death, 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 death. It's a Gatling gun of murder of dinosaurs. It's fucking insane. My next note says, I still cannot get over how brutal Brooklyn's death is and find it hard to accept. Now, keep in mind, as an addendum to this, keep in mind that we keep seeing bits and pieces of the flashback, and we're hearing her screams. We're seeing her being chased by the Allosaurus. My note continues saying there was blood. Like, we don't see her ripped to pieces, but we see a spatter of blood, like dark red blood on the ground. And you're like, you don't even see blood on the dinosaurs' mouths when they clearly just ate somebody or bit their head off. And you don't see blood anywhere else, but you see a massive blood stain, a pool of blood on the ground. And I said, we saw her last recorded moments. Like, she was selfie filming herself, sending a video to Darius, asking where he is as she gets chased down and the phone cuts out as she screams, getting killed by the Allosaurus. And I continue to say, like, I honestly kind of hate it. Even though it's the thing that drives the plot forward, it's what gets them all back together and drove them apart. I hate it. I would have preferred it to be Sammy or Kenji just because I liked Brooklyn too much. I don't know. Yeah, because I never really liked Kenji all that much. He was always annoying. He was always so flippant and deservingly so. No character really had any of those issues without cause or reason that were not justifiable. But like, if anyone was to die, I would have wished it to be like Kenji or Sammy because I wasn't attached to them as much as I was to Yaz, Darius, or obviously Brooklyn. My next note says, suffers a lot from a character about to exposit something important and getting cut off by the plot interrupting. Like, come on, it got old, and it's such a tired trope. So Darius is like, Kenji, I have to tell you something about Brooklyn. And Kenji's like, what are you going to tell me, bro? You better tell me something good. And then like a dinosaur shows up out of nowhere. It's like, it's like it's Kong or a Transformer catching somebody in the air as they're about to fall and die hitting the ground. Happens constantly in those movies. And this is the same thing. It's like, I have something important to tell you. Dean, the demons are coming to get us. Oh no, look, a demon. It's a constant cutoff. And that got so old so fast. They did it so many times. And I get it. They're trying to keep you on the hook. They're short episodes. They're 20-minute long episodes. You got to keep that plot going forward. There is a bug crawling around. Excuse me. Who are you? You don't pay rent. Get out. There was a bug crawling on my knife. Yeah, but it just got old fast because they did it so much. My next note says, Kenji's freakout and trauma response to his dad getting fucking ripped apart by raptors was absolutely perfectly executed. I was choked up the whole time. Holy shit. Like the way that, I forget who the voice actor is, but the way that the actor portrayed that, the way it was animated, the way like you see him getting like tunnel vision, getting blurry, his muffled hearing in the car as he's like grappling with the fact that he just watched his dad get killed, even though he hated his dad, it was still, and then he gets out of the car, almost throws up and just has a breakdown. Dude, it was so well acted. I was like, holy fuck, I'm feeling this. The next note says, the show skirts around really adult themes and rides that rating line closely. Besides Brooklyn and the amount of people getting eaten, they always seem to hint at things like cheating in relationships and stuff, and then pull it back with some smaller, albeit relevant interpretation. So, like, the whole time when Darius is like, I have to tell you something, and Kenji's like, what are you going to tell me, bro? That whole kind of thing you're expecting, because Brooklyn stayed with Darius after her and Kenji broke up because she was, like, ignoring Kenji and not mentally with him all the time. She was so distracted by the Dino Dark Web stuff and whatever she was doing, and then she stayed with Darius in his cabin for a while, so you're like, oh, holy shit, they were like hooking up or something. Like she went to stay with him. They had a late night of movies or popcorn and Netflix and chill, and all of a sudden, like, oh no. But no, they make it feel like he's about to say something, like they made out or something like that, and then they pull it back. And instead, Darius is like, oh, I loved Brooklyn. Even though it seemed like after Kenji and they broke up, yeah, like they were fooling around, but like he's like, oh, I loved her. Instead of, oh, and also imply like, oh, hey, nothing happened. Like, everything's cool. Those were my feelings, and she was not reciprocating. It's like, you're tightrope walking that line of about to say something really adult, even though it would be appropriate given their situation, given their history, and you can't, and then it's just like, yeah, but it's a kid show. People are getting ripped apart. Brooklyn is dead. No. You have to like follow through with this. Oh no, it's just a one-way feeling kind of thing that developed after they broke up. It's like, you got to pick a lane, dude. My next note says, Bumpy laid an egg, in all caps. Bumpy was a prigagant and shit out an egg. A speckled little egg, which I'm pretty sure wasn't her egg speckled as well? I don't remember. My next note says, so this, again, these are all just like my raw thoughts as I'm watching. So this Cabrera guy who we barely know is the bad guy? Cool. Very little impact when he revealed himself to be like, I am the one behind this. I'm the one that sent the Allosaurus to scare Brooklyn. Oh no, I didn't mean for it to kill her. Blah, blah, blah. You're like, I don't even like know who this guy is. I don't remember if he was ever a part of Camp Cretaceous. I don't think he was. And that would have been a good like season 3 reveal if he stretched out the story and gave us hints as to who he was. Like, if the series started a year before this and we got to watch Brooklyn do these engagements and do all this stuff and like all these things unfold, I would have preferred that instead of it being like a constant, this episode starts off with a flashback and then we rejoin the crew. This episode starts off with a flashback, then we rejoin the crew as we piece together these. No, I would have preferred it to be like an in order thing. So we could have actually cared who Cabrera was. My next note says, literally, what is up with Penis Head Lady? She has those dead fucking eyes and everything like that, and she's whistling for the Velociraptors to attack, and then there's like a dot, dot, dot. My next note, she is terrifying. She just has the widest dead eyes. She's pale as fuck. She's straight out of a Tim Burton movie, and she has like the weirdest penis haircut I've ever seen in my life, but it somehow really works for her. And then she just like whistles, and she whistles with an actual like coach whistle, and then the Velociraptors obey her command, and she seems to has like a really sexually intimate relationship with these Velociraptors. It's fucking scary. Another note says, also they named two characters who share a scene, Jared and Jensen. Cool, Supernatural fans. I was watching and I heard Jerry Jensen. I went, wait, no, did he say Jared and Jensen? So I rewound and the subtitles sure enough said Jared and Jensen. So I'm like, whoever the fuck wrote that? Supernatural fan. My next note says, also the character Jensen is voiced by Steve Blum. I caught that immediately. I always know his voice. My next note says, yeah, obviously Cabrera isn't the main villain because we reveal that, like, oh, he gets betrayed by Penis Head Lady, and she has not said a single word this whole time. She just dead eyes stare. She just not even robotically, she soullessly stares and commands the Raptors. And then the guy Jensen's just like, yeah, well, the boss isn't gonna be, hold on, he's Steve Blum. Yeah, well, the boss isn't gonna be too happy about. I can't do a Steve Blum impression, but yeah. So they're just talking about like this guy named the Broker, and then they betray and kill Cabrera. So it's like, yeah, he obviously wasn't the main villain, but we still don't know anything about the other characters. So my next note says, not gonna lie, her dead eyes make her kind of cute. Ooh, ooh. I was like, there's something about this that's really kind of working for me. My next note says, oh my god, and then like an annoyed face, Mateo, the Deus Ex Machina for the second time. So Mateo came and was the one who was on scene with Brooklyn's death that Darius saw there, so he thought maybe he did it. And this guy, Mateo, was just like a delivery driver for the dinosaurs. He was just dropping them off at the location kind of thing, just like drop off, pick up, kind of whatever. And Mateo came out of nowhere and saved, Kenji and Darius from Velociraptor Lady out of literally nowhere, just pulled up in a fucking Subaru and picked them up and drove them away. And then he's like, I'm going back to my kid. So he goes and leaves to go be with his kid. Then like 3 or 4 episodes later, they're in like the most insane predicament ever. There's literally no way for them to get out of the situation. And then, oh no, Mateo literally drives a fucking truck through a wall and saves them for literally no reason. Came out of nowhere. And my note says, that's just such ass writing. They wrote themselves into a corner. If Brooklyn were still alive, she would have saved them, but they killed her, and they had no characters to pull from, so they just had to bring back this Mateo character again. But granted, his character was kind of funny sometimes because they kept forgetting he was there, which is like such an audience insert thing. They're like, guys, we're having this really dramatic moment. Then Mateo says something, and they all go, ah! Oh, hey, we kind of forgot you were there. So it's pretty funny. They're really self-aware of that, but still. Doesn't make that any less bad. My next note says, at this point, I'm hoping that Brooklyn somehow survived the attack and she was given medical care and we will see her by the end somehow, ... I'm the whole time sitting there like, there's no way. The more they keep hammering it and they keep saying, Brooklyn is dead, Brooklyn is dead, Brooklyn is dead, and they keep showing the flashbacks, they keep adding more details and giving you that entire backstory. And I'm sitting there like, there is genuinely no way the writers are so cruel for a kid's show to actually kill off one of the main characters as they did, as portrayed in the show. And that's just what I'm saying to myself at this point. Like, there's literally no fucking way. Next note says, this literally just had the OT Rex from Camp Cretaceous, Big Edie, I believe it was her. I think it was her. Tail whip a barrel and explode behind her so she could roar dramatically. Guess they brought in Michael Bay to write one scene and he couldn't help himself. She literally gets freed from a container, tail whips a gasoline barrel, it explodes in slow motion as she roars triumphantly. Who the fuck wrote that? It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Next note says, T-Rex Ex Machina again. Like in all the other Jurassic properties, they're being faced down by the Velociraptors. The T-Rex comes and saves them. Yippee, we do this in every single fucking movie and adaptation. It's tired. Next note says, Kenji just punched a raptor, so that's metal. My next note says, we are not doing the quote-unquote Claire running with a flare and drawing a bigger dinosaur to the fight in slow motion thing. Are we? Yes, we are, because that's what Darius does. Darius sees the Allosaurus who killed Brooklyn, grabs the fucking cattle prod, ignites it so it follows the light from it, runs in slow motion around a corner while it chases him, throws the cattle prod at the T-Rex who's fighting the Velociraptors. The Allosaurus ignores Darius, chases the cattle prod, and joins the fight. Such a dumb scene. I get that scene was absolutely fucking sick, my dude, in Jurassic World when Claire did that with the T-Rex, but we didn't need to recreate it. That was utterly fucking pointless. Obviously not pointless, but the homage to it was just so not needed. And the next note says, Big Edie didn't even kill the Allosaurus. He bit it, she, I'm going to say he, but they're all she, bit it in the back, gave it a slap in the side of the head and said shoo, and then it ran away. And then went and ate the character Jensen. Then I wrote, justice for Brooklyn, what the fuck? We didn't even get to see Allosaurus die. Bullshit. Then I wrote, by the way, Mateo looks just like Mr. Gigi. If you don't know Mr. Gigi, he's a YouTuber, Mistagg. Look him up. He looks just like Mateo. It's crazy. And then my second to last note, in all caps, screaming, I knew it. Brooklyn is alive. But what the hell is she doing, girl? Stop. You lost an arm. So Brooklyn is revealed to be alive, obviously, in the last scene. And I literally sat up, leaned forward, and started punching my knees in excitement because I was like, I fucking knew it. I knew it. Obviously, it's a kid's show. They would not have killed her. But, I was just so relieved that she was alive. But also at the same time, girl, what the fuck are you even doing? Do you know what your friends are going through right now because you won't tell them that you're alive? You're probably not telling them you're alive because you're protecting them. But they had a hit out on them the entire show. People are hunting them down. They could have died a fucking 100 times. And you were likely just being I'm trying to protect you guys. I couldn't let you get involved. Dog, they're involved. She probably didn't know they were being hunted down. She's too caught up in her own thing. But yeah, so she shows she has a stump for her left arm. I think her hand got bit off, basically. Halfway down the forearm to her hand got ripped off. But my next note says, but wait, so I guess Darius and Mateo, who were on the scene when they saw her body on the ground, just saw her with her arm ripped off and assumed she was dead? Because we saw her face. She was wearing a tank top when she got a full body view on screen, and she was only missing her arm. She wasn't ripped up. She didn't have an ear chopped off or anything. She didn't have an ear chopped off or anything. She wasn't missing an eye. It was just her arm. So what, they saw her on the ground with her hand bit off and all the blood and just thought she was dead? And I find it hard to believe that Darius didn't ride with her to wherever she was being taken to be respawned. What she did, there were police lights. She didn't get put in an ambulance and Darius didn't go with her? That doesn't make any sense. Darius just saw her arm, saw the blood, and thought, well, she's dead. Every time they looked at her, every time we saw his face in the flashback, it was all he saw was blood and bone. He had the most horrified expression on his face, as if she was nothing but a pile of meat and eyeballs. But no, she was just missing half of her arm. Not even half her arm, half of her forearm. And just knocked out. So I find that to be kind of dog shit. And just kind of annoying to string us along like that. And I get it. It was to keep you invested and to build that tension and to be to lead into season 2. What is she really doing? Girl, what are you doing? And why aren't you talking to your friends? I get it. I understand. I can pretty much draw a whole bunch of, red lines to where we're going. It's not that hard to piece that stuff together. Obviously, I don't know the plot, but it's not that hard to see where it's going. But it's still frustrating because those little inconsistencies. Darius would have stayed with her. Darius would not have just assumed her to be dead. What happened after that? We saw his shocked expression. And then what? He ran? I guess. He just ran away and left her body there? No. There's not a single chance in hell he would have left her bleeding out body there, especially if he saw her just missing her hand. He would have dragged her out of there on his shoulders. Like, he would have done literally anything. So, especially because we get the reveal that Darius was in love with Brooklyn. So, there's not a chance in hell he would have just left her there. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. So, they better, I mean, with how the writing was going in this season, I don't see themselves having a really good explanation. And again, for a kid's show, they can only make it so complicated. But it seems like they wrote themselves into a lot of corners just for the sake of dramatic tension and just for the sake of having some bam, bam, bam reveals throughout the show. So I think they wrote themselves into some pretty narrow corners and are going to have a hard time digging themselves out of it, but I'm excited to see what they do with that, because I don't have any huge expectations for it being a kids show, but for it being a kids show, I am very invested to see what happens with how much I really enjoyed Camp Cretaceous. I don't remember my score. I think it was like high 70s or low 80s. I very much enjoyed Camp Cretaceous. And I do want to do a rewatch of it as well. I started watching it again, but things got in the way, and it was too soon after finishing it. I like to do a thing where I finish the last episode and then go back to the first episode, and just to see the characters compare and contrast and whatever have you, and to look back on them like, oh, you poor juvenile souls, what you're gonna go through. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, and as for my overall thoughts so far, I mean, as opposed to what you've gathered by me talking, I don't think this season 1 was that great. It's above average, but it has a lot of stuff that annoyed me too much. But you can't deny my excitement at the end to see Brooklyn was alive. Girl, you fucking kick ass. Keep kicking ass, but also call your friends. Your boyfriend misses you. Your ex-boyfriend. Yeah, I will be doing season review / recap kind of things as the seasons come out. If you enjoyed, leave a like or interact with this however you can. Check out the Camp Cretaceous review, and these will all be in their own little playlist. So, at least on YouTube, I can't make a playlist on Spotify. So, thank you for watching or listening, and I will see you guys in the next one. Again, check out my book series, vengeancebooks.com. Bye-bye.